All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Malzberg panel. And joining us on the Friday edition is the president of New Heights Communications, Christy Setzer, and host of the Roger Hedgecock Show, the one and only Roger Hedgecock. And welcome aboard to both of you. In the last half hour on this show, we have heard from Sandra Andrews, the mother of Second Lieutenant Darren Andrews, who was killed while searching for Bo Bergdahl. We also heard from the Major Rusty Bradley, who was involved in the search for Bo Bergdahl as well. Let me ask you, Christy, do you believe that this man is a deserter and that this man should be, spend the rest of his life in jail, and making the trade for the Taliban thugs was a mistake?
I'm not sure what I believe. I mean, I guess we've decided, in our courts that he is a deserter and that he should spend the rest of his life in jail. So I'll tell you one thing, I certainly wouldn't want to be Bo Bergdahl from here on out.
Okay, so you kind of do know what you believe, I think.
I guess.
So, Roger, the excuse now coming from the lawyer for Bergdahl is that he didn't intend to desert. He just was going AWOL to report irregularities and problems at that base, that U.S. military base, looking for another U.S. military base to basically go tattletale on them.
All of that is, of course, complete nonsense, Steve, and it's going to be proven out by all of the witnesses that will be called in this case. It is clear that the Obama administration knew at the time that they were sending people out trying to find Bergdahl, that they were being killed, our troops being killed trying to find him, that they knew he was a deserter. They had all the evidence in hand at the time. Today, there are big-time pressures coming from Secretary of Defense and other high-ups to try to squelch this down to a couple of years or maybe serve time and allow him to go on. For some reason or other, they're standing up for this deserter no matter what the cost is. I don't know what that reason is.
Yeah, and Christy, it is bizarre. They've doubled down. They said it was not a mistake. And, of course, you hearken back to Susan Rice, who said he served his country with honor. It's a joyous day, blah, 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 blah. I mean, shouldn't the president be embarrassed and humiliated over this?
Well, I mean, I do think there's been a change in position. I think that initially, obviously, the White House had to say, when Bergdahl first came home, that we don't leave a man on the field, and they had to certainly say all those things. I think it's appropriate now to have, to be able to sort of deal with the consequences, with him now back on home soil. So, yes, understandably, there's been somewhat of a change in tone from when this story first came out.
But they knew, Christy, not just one more on this, they knew at the time that this was all a possibility. They knew what his, that he left, and the letters and everything else and the circumstances. Why would Obama, when there are so many wounded and dead true heroes that have sacrificed for this country, and of course the Benghazi parents, why would he have the parents of this guy to the Rose Garden and make it a celebration?
Right. I mean, again, it was a different story when this first came out, and
that's what they were telling us. It was different, but they knew.
I don't know that that's true. I mean, do you know that that's true, Steve?
I would like to believe that they knew, because about a week later it was in the New York Times, all of his correspondence to his father. What about it, Roger?
Steve, an American president would be meeting with the parents of those brave soldiers who tried to go out and find Bergdahl. He'd be meeting with the parents and telling them how much their sacrifice means to the future of this country. Instead, he meets with the deserters' parents, who announce some kind of gibberish in support of their, some kind of capitulation of their own in that famous Rose Garden scene to try to justify the release of their son from the Taliban.
Yep.
He was a Taliban sympathizer from the beginning. This whole thing needs to be called for what it is. Our president is standing up for a traitor and a deserter.
All right, you guys, stay where you are. We have much more ahead in the second part of the panel. But, folks, today, coming up at 4:40 Eastern Time, we're opening the phone lines up to our viewers to discuss, I want to be specific, the ongoing nuclear negotiations with Iran, and reports that the president is giving in to Iran's demands, along with the rest of the countries that are negotiating this horrific deal. So I want you to call us at 844-741-3100. Write it down. 844-741-3100. Again, 844-741-3100 to have your voice heard. Back with the panel. Don't go away. All right, folks, as I welcome back the panel, Christy Setzer and Roger Hedgecock, the host of the long-running syndicated radio show, The Roger Hedgecock Show. And Roger, I understand that today is your last day for that radio show and also your last appearance in this capacity with us. So I'm sorry to hear that on both counts, but I know it's what you want. And what's next? Relaxation?
Well, 29 years in, I am going to stop the national show. I'm going to be doing some local commentary in the San Diego home market here. And I've got a nice apple farm up in Julian, California in the hills where I'm going to be tending to my apple trees.
Well, that's great. Well, if you ever have an excess of apples, we're in the Big Apple, so, we'll take a couple.
Absolutely.
We'll eat them. But it's been a pleasure and an honor working with you, sir, and I wish you the best of luck in everything that you do going forward. All right, let's continue here. It's funny that I announced this today, and I'm sure you could think of better company personally to be in, Roger, but Harry Reid also announced today that he will not be seeking re-election. And, he's saying, it's not because, again, he gave a reason like the Bo Bergdahl lawyer. I don't want to use the resources that are available on myself. I want to use them on the party. What does that even mean?
Well, it means that he's never won with more than 51% of the vote in any of his elections, and sometimes by as little as 600 votes. So it's clear that Harry Reid was going to be defeated next time. And it's also clear that he just didn't have the energy anymore after his injury to go forward. But what is also clear is that a very dark chapter in the United States Senate is about to close, a chapter in which they didn't have any democracy, they didn't have any amendments, they didn't have any regular budget, they didn't have regular order. He ignored all the committees. The guy was a dictator, and it's about time he's gone. And we've got somebody in there now who allows Democrats to make amendments to bills, something Republicans never were allowed to do under Harry Reid.
Right. There's no denying what he just said, and there's no denying that Christy, there's no denying that over 300 bills passed by the House in the last Congress never made it to the floor of the Senate because Harry Reid wouldn't let them come up.
There's plenty of denying what both Roger and you just said, Steve. Look, I think that the decision for Harry Reid, to be honest, was a very personal one. It's not just that he had a serious accident recently, even though they're saying that this isn't what it was about, but it was that his wife a few years ago, Landra, as you may remember, also had a very serious accident. He's also 70 years old. I mean, I just think that probably both things made him realize that time is short, and maybe you don't want to be the 80-year-old guy still wielding the gavel in the U.S. Senate. Maybe you want to spend some time with your grandkids. I really think that's what it's about. I 100% believe that had he run, he would have won. I think his race in 2010 certainly showed that even when everyone else, myself included, are counting out Harry Reid, that he is a force to be reckoned with.
Well, I can't say that I'm sorry to see him go. I hope he has good health in his retirement, him and his wife, but I think he's been a horror show in changing the rules of the Senate. It's another list on that dictatorial list of Rogers. Let me ask you this, as we continue here, one more, Christy. Barbara Lee, Democratic Congresswoman, says that due to climate change, women are going to be forced into prostitution. Can you figure that out?
That is a little over the top, I'm going to say. I think there are plenty of disastrous things that will come about because of the effects of climate change if we don't act. I think it takes a couple mental steps to get to where women will be forced into prostitution.
Yeah, and Roger, of course, Barbara Boxer on the floor of the Senate several years ago, not too long ago, saying, "Oh my God, it's not going to snow anymore. We're not going to have any more ski resorts. They're all going to have to close down." That didn't work out too well, did it?
No, none of these predictions. The hysteria on the left to try to sell a program that the Gallup poll recently showed Americans have no interest in, this human-caused climate change, is something that means they ought to fork over more of their hard-earned money to an ever bigger and more intrusive government.
It means that we're not getting out of...
All right, guys, we're almost out of time. And Roger, you are a denier. You are a denier.
I'm a denier of things that
All
aren't
right,
fact.
listen, Roger,
I'm a denier of
God
fiction.
bless you. Roger, God bless you. Thank you for everything. And Christy, we'll see you soon. Thank you both very much. Give Me
Steve.
5 is next on the Steve Malzberg Show.